Uh, okay, for anybody who might be new here and is wondering what is up with these two weirdos, I'm Dwayne and this is Joe, and we run what we like to call Cloudy County, which is a fake. I say fake. It's a virtual county, a county in the clouds, dedicated to teaching people how to use Microsoft 365. Learn some new tips, some tricks, some things that you can use, tools in your toolbox, and the one that we're going to talk about this month is actually really exciting. It's kind of a long time coming to education and a long time coming to Microsoft customers as a whole. If you remember, Microsoft, was it Movie Maker? Was that the old
Movie
school?
Maker, yeah, that was
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, we used to have a video editing program that was kind of there with Windows, that would do some basic video editing, and that went away. And there's a new kid on the block, a new application called Microsoft Clipchamp, which is the new video editing tool, and it is actively rolling out for education customers right now. So if you don't see it, if you know what we're going to cover today, if you don't see it right now, you will see it soon. I actually talked with somebody just this morning and I gave them this great news about Clipchamp, and they pulled it up on their screen and it said, "You can't use this right now." It's kind of a sad moment, but yeah, through hopefully the end of September, all customers will have access to Microsoft Clipchamp, which is the feature highlight for today. So Joe's going to take us through some things to see how that goes. And then Joe, do we have any what's new stuff for today?
Yeah, I got some what's new we're going to go through too. That
Perfect.
we'll cover briefly at the beginning of this, and then we'll dive into Clipchamp.
Yeah. Microsoft 365 is always updating, and we know that it's a lot of work to keep up with what's new. That's why we do it for you and try to pass over some, some of the highlights of things that we think will be impactful to you. When buttons move and things get renamed and change and stuff like that, it can be kind of a surprise if you're not watching the blogs and the news feeds and stuff like that, like Joe and I do. So hopefully this is helpful to you, and you'll get to learn about some new exciting features and things that are being included in all the apps.
Yeah, I'll get us kicked off here.
Thanks.
First thing I'm going to cover today is something that's new, rolling out first in Microsoft Word Online. And the first couple items here are the keyword is check. If you like to check things, Microsoft has got some things for you. If you like to check off items and to-do lists, there's a couple new ways that you can incorporate those kind of scenarios and options. So in Microsoft Word Online now, we've got an option for something called a checklist. And what I've got here is my favorite HR policy on binge watching. Thank you, Copilot, for coming up with this for me. And I need to maybe pass this around and get some people I just want some comments on it. Now, I could go through perhaps an approval process. Maybe that's too much for me. Maybe I just want some people to really make sure they've seen this and comment on this. So something I was thinking, a scenario here I could do is I've got some coworkers here. I'm going to highlight this list of my coworkers, and these are people I want to come out, and I want them to look at this and just make sure they've seen it, comment on it. So a new option I've got, and it's right now it's showing up over under my little three dots on my home tab, my normal standard initial menu. Under three dots, I've got this option here for checklist. And I can hit checklist, and I've got this great little checklist that's built into this. So now what I think I could do is I could just share this document out to these people and ask them to take a look at this, make some comments, touch it up if they need to. When they're done, they can come in here and check their name off. Like, I'm done, I've looked at this. So I could come back in here a week later and open this up and just ping and see if somebody, if Riker is kind of behind the game, I can ask him to finish this up. I know we've had a look at it. Just a simple little checklist in there. It automatically is going to highlight that, strike out that line for you, let you know that that's completed. That's just a one little way that if you really like to check things off, know you got things done, one more place that you can do that.
I
Next
would
place,
toss
yeah, go
in,
ahead.
I'm going to interject for a second.
Yeah.
We've talked about Microsoft Loop before, and Microsoft Loop has checklists and also task lists. And I think it might be worth pointing out the difference there. A checklist is just a simple, hey, this is complete. Let me check it off. A task list is going to contain who is actually responsible for checking it off. And that will also integrate into like our task management stuff where you get a notification from Microsoft Planner that you have a task assigned to you and those types of things. So this is a really lightweight, easy way, like Joe said, like, hey, you just want to make a list of things that we got to check some boxes. This is really nice to see this because, yeah, this was something I used a lot in OneNote. So it's nice to see this kind of make its way over into Word.
Yeah, if you wanted to, definitely. I think we would need the desktop version running for Word. I'm not seeing insert a loop component here right now.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you a curveball there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that would be no, that would be a good thing. Again, this is rolling out just currently in the Word online. It
Yeah.
hasn't hit the desktop just yet. To flip that around, something that's rolled out now to Excel desktop is over in Excel world is the concept of check boxes. Often, like if you were in this case, let's say I want to kind of track 5 things that have to happen that each person in this row needs to do something. There's 2 teams. I need them to do something. Typically, you come in here and maybe just put an X. This has been complete. Something like that in the past we would do something simple like that. You could get fancy with some developer tools and stuff, but it made it really easy now. So something we can do now is add checkboxes. So I'm going to highlight this area and I'm going to insert, and we've got checkboxes. Nice, pretty, easy checkboxes here. Finish up down here. Very easy, just get started, start checking these off as people complete these in some way, or you're tracking some information. Just one more way to kind of do this. Seen scenarios where in some other way people are doing something similar like this. Clearly Microsoft's heard like wish it was easier because we like to use Excel for this type of purpose. And this is one way that they're doing it. One thing I want to kind of highlight in here that just took advantage of the way I laid this out a bit. Often we'll want to highlight, like I've got 2 teams here. I've got team 1 and I've got team 2, and I've got some text up here. And typically, let's say I wanted this text highlighted, I'm sorry, centered kind of over this grouping of things that I want completed here. I think a lot of us will highlight that, and we're used to using something called merge. Let's see here. I can merge and center. So I'm merging that. That's become one cell block. That looks great. If I come down in to this area here, let's first let me first show you. Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to highlight and do the same thing. I'm going to merge this and center this. What this is cool. It looks great, but some things that this can kind of affect that can cause problems. Let's say I want to do something like count if now I want a range, like I want to highlight this column and count everything that's true is what I'm going for. I I can't get there. I can't highlight just the column D because of that merge. It's broken my ability to come through that. So instead, what we can do is I've got this column I want to center again across this area. I can highlight that. And under format cells, under alignment, we've got an option to center across selection. So that's done the same thing. It's centered, looks good, but it hasn't broken some of that capability there. So if I want to go back to count if, I want my range, I can highlight all the way through there now. And if I want the true ones, I can do that. Just one little trick that I came up with while I was kind of building out this demo. This little progress bar here, one little thing that I've seen you can do here too is there's a trick to do a progress bar. If I take this cell and I want to say like I want to show some progress on these 3 items that are done, just like I did down there is I want to do count if. So I've got count if, and I want my row here, and I want the true ones. So I've got 3 here. That's not like a very good progress. 3, 3, what does that mean? But I can kick this up a bit. And what I can do is I'm going to multiply this by 10. I'm getting 30 in there. And now what I can do is I want to do a repeating character 30 times is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to repeat our pipe symbol. I want to do that 30 times. And now I've got a little progress bar. And if I continue to push that down, kind of see how this works. Just a little thumbnail example. I put this into, I think it's Britannica Bold to get those little bars to kind of line up next to each other. But just a couple little fun things you can do in Excel. Always love learning little tricks like this, kind of kick up what you're looking at. Some different ways to visualize what you're doing that might help your people that are looking at your documents you're producing. Next thing I want to call out is we have got Loop team has got together a learning series that just got kicked off today, a 5-part learning series. We get that into the chat here. But there's a 5-part learning series that just started today. I think the next one every week coming up, 21st, 28th. Those look really great to get started with Microsoft Loop. As Dewayne highlighted at the very beginning, there's some great tools around to-do lists and managing, managing to-do lists, managing task lists and things like that. Great way to do it in Loop. Project management on the 28th. So you can get signed up and register for those and definitely take advantage of those. I'm looking forward to part 3, part 4 coming up next couple of weeks.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on the Loop side of this that were very instrumental in making Loop become available for education. So they have a personal interest in use cases of education, higher education, land grant systems. And so I think this is really special to actually be able to see the people, number one, who created Loop, but also advocated for Loop to become available for education, doing a series on how to use Loop. I think that's super cool. So if you have time, even just sign up and catch the recordings or something like that, I think it's definitely worth a look.
I would say recently, Dewayne, you're gonna say, well, you're doing what, Joe? But I've been using Loop. I've been using Loop for presentations instead of like a PowerPoint slide.
Of course you have.
Put together a workspace and some pages, and I love the ability to just easily zoom in and zoom out and pinch on a screen that's got touch screen. But yeah, that's been. Anyways, see how that works out for you if you try.
I'm not sure if we actually covered this in a what's new previously or not, but it's probably worth mentioning that Loop now does support external access, meaning if you want to build a loop workspace or share a loop component with someone from outside your institution, maybe a colleague from another university, you can do that now, which is pretty cool, because that was something that, while Loop was in its early stages and kind of rolling out, wasn't there. And a lot of people were, I don't want to say bummed, but they realized the limitation of, I can only use this inside my university or inside my school. And now having guest access enabled for that means you can collaborate fast with people from all over the place, which is pretty sweet.
That definitely unlocks some things for I know we have some researchers and run some labs that I think would like to take advantage of that. So definitely need to make sure they know that is available now. Last, what's new I want to cover is in Teams. I'm in Microsoft Teams. I'm in a team, and I've got a little team set up here. It looks like I might be trying to run an online conference here. Typically, in this kind of scenario, we would end up with a channel usually called like announcements, where we would blast out one-way information into this team for the people who are joining us for an online conference of some sort. But now we've got the ability to rename the general channel. So this is new. So I've got the ability to click our little three dots. I've got rename channel. Immediately, it's giving you a warning. You cannot get it renamed back to general. We can't basically come back and have a channel called general again. But I think if you're renaming it, you kind of want to get rid of that and have every one of your channels name have a real purpose of some sort. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and give this a rename. And there we go. Now we don't have a general channel. Sometimes that was confusing to people, or not sure where to post their comments and post questions. Now you've got channels. Every one of them can have a real purpose, a good name for them. If we come in and look at manage that channel, the moderation still follows with what it was with the general channel. From here, we can see we really only have the ability to continue to lock this down by just the owners. And I'll show you that's kind of different with respect to all the other types of the other channels, the non-general channels that came up. So this would still be a great way to use kind of my announcements here. Just owners can post in here if I want to. If I look at another standard channel, and come in, and our channel moderation is a little different here. So that's something just to kind of be aware of. It really is just a rename. It hasn't changed that functionality that comes with that. Now, our announcements, we've loved to work with emojis, I think, don't we, Dwayne? So this is not showing up where I probably would want it. It's showing up at the bottom of this screen right now, bottom of my list. So I could come in here and rename this channel still if I wanted to, which is great. But again, you've got to worry about what you're going to put here. So if I put, let's do, is it speaker or phone? Is it bullhorn?
Megaphone, I think.
Megaphone. Yeah, megaphone is something that we usually use for announcements, or a loudspeaker. That's the one I think we usually have seen. So I put that in there. I'm going to hit save. Not let me. It's trying. I've seen this recently, so this might be a little bug we've got right now going on. Having some issues with emojis in team names right now. But typically we'd throw a nice emoji in there and get that sorted differently. There's a sort order to emojis. And I think I've got an Excel file we'll share at some point that kind of gives that list to you. But that's it. That's it for what's new. Anything come up in chat?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm kind of, well, number one, we were having a discussion around Worf's last name because you used his human family last name in your document. So there's a little bit of, no, I don't say debate, but just some friendly discussion around Worf has a last name. So important things are going on in the chat.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious how people feel about renaming the general channel. It seems to have been a long requested capability. And I'll be honest, I feel kind of ignorant here. Why did people not like the general channel? Did you feel like it was not flexible or people didn't understand what it was for? It's been there since Teams came out. So it's been many years of general channels being created every time a team was created. People hating on the general channel. What do you think's going on, Joe? Or anybody
Uh,
from the audience, if you have an input here, I'd love to hear it. I'm just curious what you think about that feature. Is this something you think you'll use?
I've had some people ask kind of about it, mostly around really, um, I don't want to say well thought out, but well designed team where the general channel, it would have been better to fit. They wanted somebody posting on topic or on project. So there was
Okay,
topics and
yeah,
projects, and that's all that was in there. So the general channel, just they, people would have a tendency to choose that instead of going, oh, I need to, if that general channel wasn't there and it's the first thing to drop into kind of thing, it's like, oh, I need to go to my project or my topic, and that's where I need to go right
yeah.
away. So it might help direct people to the right place is what I've
Well,
heard.
you just made me think of something. So I'm going to throw you a curveball. I don't expect you to know the answer to it just yet because it's probably not something we've tested. But we have always advised people when they are creating a large team. And when I say we, I mean Joe and Dewayne have always advised people to lock down the general channel and to not use it, to put a welcome to the team message in the general channel. And the reason why we did that is because the general channel is typically always the first thing a new team member sees. When you click on the activity feed notice to let you know that you've been added to a new team, it immediately loads the general channel. And so now I'm curious, will it continue to load announcements as the first channel that you see every time you're added to a new team? I suppose you could add me to
It
this Joe Test O2 and I'll see.
it just, I mean, I left this. I left. I went to Blossom Room, left this team, pick some place, come back, open this one up, and it's taken me back to the old general channel.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So
I
it's a
think it's
little
going
bit
to
of a
work that
quirky
way.
user experience. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that I think that we should still say that particular channel carries an extra weight that other channels don't, which is true, has been true of the general channel since Teams came out. You know, it's always been kind of like the anchor channel, if you will, the root channel of the team. And even if you rename it, it's still going to kind of function that way. So it's still different. It's still special. It's not just any other channel. And Joe showing the moderation differences there, and the fact that it's still the first thing you see when you load into the team. I would still treat it as such. Yeah.
agreed. Yeah.
Didn't mean
Okay.
to throw you a curveball there. I was just
Yeah,
kind of curious. I hadn't tried that yet.
yeah, no, it is brand new. Same thing. I've only
Yeah.
probably renamed 2 general channels so far. So it's just hitting. So we'll see. So I'm not sure if it's fully rolled out or not. But that's starting to head out there. So that's probably another reason, just not to go on this too long, but to go back and manage your team is just one more thing that you want to go into settings, and think about who has rights to do things in your team. Look at your member permissions, because if somebody renames a general channel and they didn't mean for them to do that, you're not going to get it back to general. So might want to just double check who has rights to update and change your channels in your teams. All right, let's get into, we're going to get into Clipchamp now. let's go with how to figure out if you've got it first, I think, because it is, like you said, Dwayne, just kind of starting to roll out. And it feels like it's rolling out a little bit slower, I think, than expected. But we've got another this month and maybe into September, I think, as it's rolling out. There's a link you can go to, portal.office.com/account. And if you sign in there, there is a place where you can view subscriptions. And this will give you an idea of all the apps that you have been licensed for. And you got a Microsoft or Office, I think, just A3, A5. Eventually, if you don't see it, you'll see Microsoft Clipchamp showing up there. Yep. And there's, as it's rolling out, I think, is that the link to maybe get started early there, Dwayne?
Yep.
There's a way to kind of kickstart this if you don't have it right now showing up. There's a way to potentially kickstart that. Be patient. It has worked for a few people that I know that have tried it. It might take a 4 or 5 hours, give it a chance, maybe overnight to kind of get an understanding that, hey, I want in early. But take advantage of that. You can do that there. On the Windows 11, you have got an app for Clipchamp you can install, but it's also a web app. So it's a web app. It runs on your computer. So hardware is important and your browser is important. It needs a Chromium-based app to run, Chromium-based browser to run. So Firefox users, it's not going to work. But on Windows 11, in my start menu, you might find Clipchamp. And I've started it up that way. First, you might not have any existing projects. You can start with simply a blank video. This is going to generate some folders in the cloud for you, though. So you're going to find in your OneDrive, there's a videos folder. There's a Clipchamp folder that's going to show up. And then this is where your projects are going to start showing up as you're working on them and starting to build them. If I dive into one of these, we'll see that there is a Clipchamp file type now. I don't know, what's interesting is it's just a text file. What's that explains what the heck this thing is. It's just a big, huge chunk of text. And there's assets that you might bring in that might get used inside of your content. And if you export a video, it's going to show up here when you're done producing. I have tried. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to jump in there. When you say assets, if you're working on a project and let's say you want to combine multiple video clips together, this is something I think is really important to point out, especially to our extension crew who are going to be at remote offices. When you say, hey, I want to add this asset, it's going to put that file in your OneDrive, and therefore it's going to upload it to the cloud. So there is a bandwidth thing to think about here of these files. In order for Clipchamp to be able to work on them and manipulate them, effectively need to be in your OneDrive. Is that kind of fair to say, Joe? Like this whole package is going to live in your OneDrive?
What I've seen is maybe you've taken some video with your phone and you downloaded it to your computer. You can bring those assets into Clipchamp and they will start uploading behind the scenes through the Clipchamp interface automatically into assets for you. But you can basically start working on them right away because the app, again, the processing is local, is happening local. So it can take advantage of your GPU and some things like that. So it's more about the metadata and the files when you're done are in the cloud, which is something I did try. Is I built a project and I copied this folder even between tenants and accounts, and I could open it up and just continue working on it. So this is something that was interesting, is I could kind of bundle these up, take the whole package over someplace, and continue to, I could use it, open it up and edit it.
So that means like if somebody created a template project, you theoretically could copy and distribute that template project.
Yeah, I think that is
That's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, that would be something that's interesting to think about. Yeah, that would be very cool. Um, so let's see. Let's get back into Clipchamp. Here's our interface. It jumps you right into my media. So we're just going to go through this interface kind of quickly, and then I'm going to bring up a demo and just kind of show how I kind of built it out. So here's how you would import some media. I've got some content here. I'm going to import a couple of videos. Something I did try, this video doesn't show well. I'll import that one too. It's an HVEC file. So it's kind of a higher compressed, higher quality video that my phone took. It does import, and I can bring it in and drag it in. This also works with MOV files you might have from an iPhone. You can just drag those right in and it understands and works with those. Now you can see in the background, I'm starting to upload those two
Isn't
files.
the HVAC like an iPhone thing too?
I believe that is the case too. But there's a way I could do that on my Android Samsung. And I gave it a try and it's supporting it. So yeah,
Okay.
that's the best
I
I could do.
noticed the uploading down there at the bottom. So this was kind of what I was saying before to just remember is as an extension agent, if you're out at your extension office or you're on a Wi-Fi hotspot or you're out standing in your field working on Clipchamp, which I think would be pretty cool, but when you copy these videos that you just took with your phone over to the project, it will upload them in the cloud. So it might make more sense to just have them in OneDrive from the get-go, but that does occur automatically.
Yeah, those are going. I've got a pretty decent connection here, which is looking good. But I could start working with those right away if I wanted to. So I could drop those onto my timeline. And that's what we've got here is I'm going to zoom into this timeline so it makes more sense. What I'm doing is, if you can see this timeline, I've got 0 seconds to 18 and 54, a minute and 12 seconds. So this is a short video. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on that. And I could just immediately start playing that video if I wanted to. And I could bring in this other video and bring it right next to it and pop that in. And if I was to drag my little timeline where I'm living in the timeline, I've got this little line here. I can decide what shows up on the screen. I can hit play and that'll start running and it'll just flip to the next one. That's not exciting. That's not interesting. Things you could do with this. So perhaps I could bring in some text. Let's just bring in some simple heading. I click that heading, I hit click add, and this is, again, adding more things to this timeline. Maybe I want something that starts at the very beginning of my slide. I'm going to bring like, why don't I see this? I've got this here, I've got it selected, but I don't see it on my screen. I've got to bring my little time slider over here and then show up on top where that line is showing through, and I can see that now. So I could say this was Canadian Rockies. I've got a text object here. I can come over and change that content if I want to. I can change the size. I can easily put that, move that around on the screen if I want to very easily. I could rotate it, just move it around myself, change the fonts. All those kind of things are built right into here. Just grabbing my video. There is undo, which is nice. Move all that stuff around. Put my video back. But what I want is maybe I want this to be an little opening screen. So what I could do is I'm going to slide these videos over for a couple seconds. So now at the very beginning of my screen, I've just got the Rockies, then my video comes in and my Rockies is gone. Now I could do other things with this. Maybe I could fade that in so it's not just jarring and opening up. I could fade it out over a little bit of time. And you could do some effects. If you put together PowerPoint slides and you use transitions between slides or between items on the slides, I think you're going to be able to get a hang of this very easily. Same concept. So I could do some other things with this content here. So if we just hit play, kind of zoom in a little bit, starts to fade out slowly. Now I'm into my video. Now there's other things you can bring in here. It's quiet. Maybe I want a little audio to start right when my video starts. I'm going to throw in some audio. There's a bunch of free audio, different genres in here. It's the afternoon. Let's throw in some coffee. So I'm going to throw that down into the timeline. Now these typically are a couple minutes long. I want it to start right at the very beginning. And I only want it to last a few seconds instead. I don't want it to take up the entire, I don't want a 2-minute video. I'm just going to bring that down here and I'll let it play in slightly into my video. But I can also do things with my audio. Is I could fade that in if I wanted to, or fade that out would be nice. So now I've got that added in, and let's go back, kind of start this up again and see what this looks like. Other thing you can do is we got transitions we can do between each of these. So if we go down to our transitions, got a bunch of different transitions. Again, just like transitioning between a PowerPoint slide or something like that. I've got a little plus where I can add that. I can also pick one of these. Let's say I want push left. I can drag that down, and now I've got a push left. As soon as you start selecting objects on your timeline, you're going to have some ability to choose some features of those objects on the right-hand side. So I've got effects that I could do to my video. I could change some colors and temperature. I could speed up and slow down my videos, fade them in, fade them out. Some filters on there are interesting. But now I've got a little transition. I can kind of go over right about here and hit play. See how that slides in. Those are just some easy little things there to do. Let's say this trip was a couple of days and I was in the Rockies and then I was in some other location for a little while. What I might want to do is a transition and tell people about that. So maybe I drag this, give myself a few seconds. I could bring in some stock video that's available. Maybe let's say, let's just pick some veggies here. I'm going to put in this video in my timeline. And I'm going to get that started right at the end of the very first video. You can see how that purple line shows up, kind of like in PowerPoint, where you can line up edges of objects that you put onto your PowerPoint slide. Same thing here. This is kind of snapping into place where it's lining right up with the next one. I don't need that long a video. I'm gonna shrink it down. I'm gonna bring this one to start there. And I could maybe throw some text into this location. I'm gonna come into right about here, and I could throw in some text. And I want some text to maybe show, and maybe this was some national park of some sort. Now I've got a little different kind of transition that I'm going between these slides. You're going to come into some other section, something else that we're going to. There's
The natural transition from the produce aisle to the Rockies.
yes. Uh, so we got some other graphics in here, illustrations. I love cartoon people. I love cartoon people in PowerPoint. So you can bring in some characters and create some interesting people, and throw them into your slides and things like that, and have fun with that. Um, this has so we've got stock video, we got stock images we could bring in too. Um, Again, the full, just kind of like I said, if you're comfortable doing some PowerPoint slides, a little bit of transitions and things like that, you're going to be able to get a handle on this. And the same thing to think about in PowerPoint and how you can transition, thinking about Clipchamp, is PowerPoint has that concept of layers. So you've got text might overlay the top of your videos or your slides and your images. There's that layering effect. The same thing is happening in this case that we're seeing. Um, I've got these new lines of text. So if I wanted this text to be seen at the same time, so I've got the Rockies showing here for a little bit, and then it's going to show National Park for a little bit. Maybe I wanted those to kind of overlap a bit. Um, I could stick that on a separate line, a separate layer, and then I could move those in so that at some point they both might be showing up on the screen. And I could move this one out of the way. One of these here, something like that, a little bit easier to see. But anyways, that'll give you an idea of how to get that layering effect, that same kind of concept. If you got something you like, it's great. But maybe there's some more content you need to produce. You can produce it right in Clipchamp. So you could use this as your recording platform too. You can do your screen and camera at the same time, maybe just your web camera, just your screen. You've got the ability, and it's going to put it right in as an asset inside of your project at that time. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch. Oh, and you can come up here and you can change the name of these projects around if you want. But I'm going to go back home. Pull up. I've got an example here. And maybe I will, let's see, exports. Where do I have that? All right, let's just watch it in Clipchamp. I can make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to make you watch this for a little bit. It's kind of short, just a demo. The screen, some of the demo just kind of repeats the concept. What I want you to kind of pay attention to, actually what I'm going to do, let me see if you can see the full timeline there. It's a little hard to see. The very bottom there is some music and some audio. We've got some transitions. We've got some stock video. Got some stock audio, some text, and some transitions here. So let's kind of go through this a little bit real quick.
Microsoft Entra conditional access policies are a cornerstone of contemporary identity and access management, designed to enforce security controls based on specific conditions. These policies operate on an if-then logic, where access to resources is granted or denied based on signals such as user identity, device compliance, location, and risk level.
The first step in implementing intra-conditional access policies involves thorough planning and preparation. Organizational access administrator.
One common use case is enforcing MFA for accessing university email and collaboration tools from off-campus locations. A policy can be remotely.
I'm going to do is walk you through some kind of the key things that I did in this to kind of make it look as it did, and the pieces that I used to kind of design this. Let's see if I can make this as big as possible here. So I took advantage of the layering effect here by having I've got a checkbox that shows up initially, and maybe a little too big. There we go. So I've got a little bit of space here, so I don't immediately push out some content. I got a little bit of time before something starts showing up, and then I've got the video coming in. I've got a checkbox that's coming in, and I've taken advantage of some settings on these for like some of this text fading in, so it's not just kind of jarring and flashing up on your screen. And then again, the layering, conditional comes in, and then access comes in, and then policies comes in. My checkbox is up there the whole time. And then I've got my fun little cat that fades in, and then jumps right into this video. I could put a transition in here. I've got some transitions over here. This is just to kind of show what it felt like without one. It's kind of jarring, so that's why you take advantage of some transitions. A little later, I've got a graphic that I throw up on the screen. I want to highlight something, perhaps. I can do that and put that up. And then I've got my transitions between the different steps that I want to kind of train somebody on. So I've got, in this case, I've got a transition between this stock video. I've got this stock video here. I can do, I'm not fading that one. Not fading that one in. And I've got, there's my transition I clicked on, that little transition icon. I'm doing a push left on that one. I think the rest I'm doing a push left transition between those. And I brought in some stock audio called Peaches. I guess maybe that's a cat's name. I could up the video on the audio if I want to, change that around. I fade that in and fade that out, so it's not an abrupt change on the user. And I kind of just follow through with that. The text, I've got that fading in and fading out, and just follow that through all the way to the end. I think the end, I've got everything set to kind of fade out over a second. So the whole system fades to black slowly over time, and audio comes down. And one thing that's really cool, and I think you saw that on the screen here, is we've got closed captioning embedded in the video. So if I export this video, that content is going to be active and on the screen. I know there's some scenarios I've heard, like digital signage is a really great one for that, is to always have that closed captioning guaranteed to be visible without having to click a button or do something like that. So this video could go anywhere, play on any device, and you're going to get closed captioning. How did I do that in this case? Now, if I had been talking over the top of this recording, the screen recording that I was doing, built in is a transcription feature. So it would go in and just like we're used to in our Teams meetings, or Dewayne put up there transcription in Microsoft Word, that same concept, it's doing that also. I can choose the font, what this transcription, closed captioning built in looks like. I can change the color and the alignment and things like that. One thing I haven't figured out, I doesn't feel like it's built in is having a I can't layer something underneath it is what I've found very easily is like a block of text to make it so it doesn't get hidden behind maybe some dark content that might be in that bottom. I want to have something where I guarantee to see that. And right now I haven't figured that out just yet. So depending on the content you're producing, the screen recording, something like that, you might want to pay attention to have like a blocked off area where you might put this in. I could do that in this video. I could shrink that video a little bit and have a little space at the bottom where then I use like white lettering on black background. I could do something like that, but just something to be thoughtful of when you're doing this. The other thing that is cool, and maybe, I don't know if any of you caught it right at the beginning. I didn't catch it until I first did this, is there was somewhere, maybe I'm not going to find it, but there's a way to, you can edit this transcript. I saw the word entry somewhere instead of, I think it meant to be entra, but I could be, yeah, that's stuck up there. Typically, I would be able to fix that is what I've seen. Let me see if I can force that. There, see if I can get that to fix. Oh, it pulled up entry, entra. So how did I get this voiceover? This is what's really cool. This is really amazing. Is this has built in the ability to take text to speech, and you can choose a bunch of different voices. So all those voices you heard were Monica and I don't know, I think Davis and Ashley. You can do that under text to speech. So I'm recording create, I got text to speech. And I can come in here and type in something that I want. And it's going to generate, based upon a voice I choose, that text, and it'll put it down in your timeline, and you can move it around and take advantage of it. You can kind of
Choose from a variety of voices to help you create a story worth sharing.
There's some multilingual, so I haven't tried that. I'd probably put some Spanish or French in here. It should understand that and play that also. Dewayne, I think you said that that's the Microsoft Reader, or that comes from basically that same tool.
Yeah, if you're a user of Immersive Reader, which if you haven't tried Immersive Reader, I highly recommend giving it a try. If you're reading a lot of documentation or a long article on a website and you're using Microsoft Edge, you'll see at the top on the address bar an Immersive Reader option, and that will basically just highlight all the content on the page and give it to you in a way that you can concentrate on the content. And then while you're looking at it in Immersive Reader view, you can turn on Read Aloud. And Read Aloud will use the same voices. So it's kind of the same, I don't want to say it's the same engine or same technology, but it's more or less the same concept. And it's pretty cool to see this built in. You know, I like how you went through various voices to show how you basically did a voiceover of a tutorial, but you never actually had to record your voice. This also means you didn't have to go back in and edit out any, speaking errors or ums and so's and those types of things. You can just literally type in what you want the voiceover to say and then pick a voice that you like and it will read it out, which is pretty sweet.
It'd be like go into Microsoft Word and dictate what you want. And in Microsoft Word, you're going to pick up those ums and ahs and pauses and things like that. Go clean it up in Word, put it in here, pick a one of these virtual voice avatars. I changed it up so that maybe it helps the reader, the listener, the viewer stay engaged, different voices for different sections, things like that is possible. So that was pretty fun to kind of put this together. It looks good. You're all done. You've got an export option here. Give yourself a name, where you want to record it and save it. The quality, 1080p is what we got max included with our licenses. One thing to conceptually understand is like you typically the video that you bring in, if I was bringing in 720p video, I would probably not want to save it as 1080p, an upscale that's called. If I bring in maybe some 4K video that I took with your phone or something that's probably going to be higher than 1080p, that's okay. It's probably ideal though, is if you know you're going to do this work and it's going to be 1080p on the output, is to have your input 1080p. There's just less processing needed and you're going to get some better quality doing that. But that's it for our demo, and we're kind of right on time. Any questions that came through there?
Running through basically a full project right there, which is pretty sweet, and hopefully folks see that there's a lot of potential with this application. It's not just trimming off the beginning and the end of a video, right? It's a full-fledged, production tool that you could use to make an ad or record a guide or all of those types of things, upload it to YouTube or Vimeo or wherever you might want to put it. And the biggest thing that's so important is this will be accessible to all extension agents. Like, this isn't a tool that some people have because they bought a license. This is going to be in that toolbox that all extension agents have. And I think that now the only thing left on the plate is let's learn how to use it, which hopefully this gets you started, and you all go play around with it and give it a try and see what you can create. And I am really curious. There was some good stuff in the chat about other tools. Some are easy to use. Some are really advanced. Where is Clipchamp going to fall in? And so we would love to get your feedback and hear from you on what you think, where this tool falls into that portfolio of video editors that you might have access to.
One thing real quick is the video that you bring in. It's really easy to, like, if I want to cut this real quick, I can cut this video. I got split tools. I can duplicate it, bring it in. The other thing that's really cool is that I could mute the audio or detach it. Like, I could separate the audio and do something else with the audio and move it around. Just a couple of things real quick that I forgot to kind of talk about there that you can do with this. But that's it.
Cool. Well, we'll hang out on the call for a little bit if anybody's got any questions or wants to ask anything about this. Maybe, Joe still got his screen share up, so if he's got a few more minutes, we can dig into some stuff for some Q&A. But if you're watching online, on the recording, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week to talk about something else. I'm sure we'll figure it out when we get there. But thanks everybody for joining us this month. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.